Go for it, Joe.
Huh?
Go.
Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Barefoot Bay Recreation District Board of Trustees regular meeting for August 14, 2020 at Building D&E. As we do before each meeting, the Board of Trustees would like to take a moment of silence to remember all our service personnel who have or are still fighting to protect this great country that we live in. Also, let's remember all our Barefoot Bay residents, both past and present. Also, let's not forget and let us keep those who have suffered losses and those who are recovering from the COVID virus in our prayers. We will follow this with a pledge of allegiance led by Mr. Mino. Let us now have a moment of silence. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Since Mr. Compton is not here, I will do the roll call. Chairman Klosky is present. Trustee Loveland.
Here.
Trustee Henderson. Here. Trustee Mayo.
Here.
And Trustee Compton is excused, absent. Also present is John Coffey, District Manager, Cliff Reppinger, Attorney for the District, Mel, the Recording Secretary, and Rich Armington, Residence Relations and DOR Manager. We have a quorum. Thank you. We have a set of minutes dated for July 28, 2020 to be approved. Chair will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for July 2020.
Mr. Loveland made a motion. Need a second?
I second it.
Luana Henderson made a second. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is Trustee Loveland. Please read the Treasury report for August.
This is the Barefoot Bay Recreation District Treasury Report, August 14, 2020. Cash balances in the general fund as of 8/6/20, $2,500 in petty cash. MB&T operating account, $2,207,266.85. Interest-bearing accounts, SB&A reserve, $698,353.64 for a total cash balance in general fund of $2,908,120.49. Total daily deposits and assessments received for periods 7/21 through 8/6 of 20, $62,488.68. Expenditures over $5,000 for period 7/21 through 8/6. Florida Power and Light, $7,266.34. Health First Health Plans, $25,029.31. Darren Company, $8,387.92. Next Generation Heat and Air, $5,992. Special District Services, $13,278.93. Bobcat of Orlando for Bobcat repairs, $5,868.88. Paychecks for net pay period ending 7/19/2020, $52,453. Payroll tax, pay period ending 8/2/2020, $8,090.05. Paychecks for pay period ending 8/2, $52,684.54. Total expenditures over $5,000, $179,050.97. I submit the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Randy. Chair will entertain a motion to accept the treasury report as read.
I have a question. Didn't we pay any payroll taxes for 719? There's only one set of payroll taxes.
What's,
Was it,
They may have.
is it the whole, both of them?
what's that now?
At the end, it says paycheck, U.S. Treasury paycheck. There's only one check to the U.S. Treasury for the taxes, for the payroll taxes. Was it skipped?
I would assume they pay it once a month, right?
You pay, I thought it was on both times. I'm pretty sure it's usually on for each payroll period.
That's a good catch, Luann. That usually, you're right. I think that usually goes on every pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may have been a timing issue, or I'll have Charles double-check that and get back with you all
Well,
on
I just want to make
Monday.
sure we pay the taxes.
Oh, we do. We do.
I make a motion, we accept it.
A second? Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you. Next, the audience participation. Mr. Coffey has one letter to read. And then we'll call in.
I have two letters from
I'm sorry.
Rich Schwatlow, 636. The first one, originally, he wrote for the DOR workshop that was canceled. Let me say up front that I'm in favor of raising the base spending cap of $25,000 to $50,000. Raising the spending cap does not raise our monthly recreation fee. The fees stay the same. They want a larger cap, as stated by the board, to possibly purchase items that cost over $25,000 but less than $50,000. For example, a truck, land, or a dilapidated house through the NRP. I hope this workshop will answer the questions residents have. I hope they do answer residents' questions, but at the last workshop, I asked two questions to the board that they had brought up, and as the rules of a workshop state, they do not have to reply to residents' questions. They did not answer mine. I hope they will change at this workshop. I'm not sure how this workshop will get information out to the residents. When I checked, only 186 residents watched the July 28th meeting and 213 residents for July 10th meeting. That's not many, with around a possible 10,000 that could have watched. A raise in the cap is needed. I hope information will get out to enough people so that they will understand this need and vote for it. His next letter is communication. Every year after the Bay's budget is mailed to residents, some residents ask questions about it. The board replies that they have been working on it for 6 months and budget information was available to residents at that time. But if a resident asks a budget question at a BOT meeting, the board does not have to reply. If you ask a budget question at the workshop, they do not have to reply. I have sent out emails and have not had a reply. A board member has a website where he can block a resident from asking a budget question or even see other resident budget questions and the reply to them. I understand that BOT meeting and workshops are business meetings that residents are invited to, but I'd like to see at upcoming candidates debate a discussion on how better communication with residents can be achieved. I would suggest an informal meeting before the scheduled meeting where residents could ask non-binding questions and get a short reply. If a longer discussion is required, maybe a meeting between the board member and the residents would be scheduled at the administration building. At the last board meeting, several trustees did not know what I meant when I said lipstick on a sow's purse. The lipstick is the $2 million plus we are spending on Building A and the lounge to make them pretty, and the sow's purse is the 2 50-year-old buildings we are spending the $2 million on. Plus, the cost of the beach bathroom may end up with a combined cost of twice what the board voted to spend on it.
Thank you, John. Open up the audience participation. And as we always do, board, we never respond to any of the question or anything that the audience participation. So we will not respond to any of those.
Welcome to AT&T's teleconference service. Please enter your access code, followed by...
I got sidetracked. I have to start over, but I remember that the last meeting, Trustee Compton wanted me to reiterate to the people before they called in to silence your computers, or if you're at the lounge watching the simulcast, please step outside and don't use your speakerphone because we had feedback problems the last time.
Welcome to AT... To join the conference as the host, press star. Otherwise, please enter your host password, followed... Please enter your billing identifier, followed by the... You entered 11109. To accept, press 1. There are 1 participants on the call, including you. You are joining your conference as the host. For a menu of available commands, press star pound.
Is there anyone there? Hello?
Hello, is anyone on the conference call?
Mr. Coffey, can you ask again, please?
Anyone on the conference call? We can hear when the caller joins in. It does a bleep, bleep.
So there's nobody on the line?
Last call, anyone on the conference call?
Okay, audience participation is now closed. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can you hear this? Yeah. Comment about what you just mentioned about responding to callers coming in, and that's absolutely the way it's supposed to work, and people should understand that. However, they have to also understand anytime they have questions about budget items, about administrative things, about things the board does, they can call the administrative office anytime they want and get answers to those things. It's not that we, the board or the administration, does not respond to them. It's that you don't respond during a public meeting because it's a meeting of the board
Right.
in public, not with the public. And so they have to make sure they understand. It's kind of false to say, I didn't get a response. If you want a response about a budget item, call up Mr. Coffey. And if he doesn't respond, call up a board member and say, hey, he wouldn't answer my question, because that's what we're for. But they can call in and get answers anytime they want. It's just that you don't respond in a public meeting.
You're correct. And anybody ever asks me, I always say you can call the office anytime.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayo. Okay, unfinished business, phase reopening discussion. John?
Mr. Chairman, trustees, residents watching here and at home, this is our annual review of the phased reopening. There is one proposed addition to this, not really changing from our Phase 2 to Phase 3, but as we received an email on the 6th of August, Aqua Zumba is asking to be able to be scheduled into Pool 3 group exercises starting September 1. Since that request, I've been watching the attendance at Pool 1, which has a much larger capacity, and we have not come close to capacity at Pool 1. So I feel very comfortable recommending to add Aqua Zumba to the schedule starting September 1 as requested. As long as we have room for people at Pool 1, I know this decreases the amount of free swim time in Pool 3, but in my opinion, as long as we have a pool open for free swim and there's capacity, we're doing our job. And if people don't want to go to a specific pool, that's their choice. I can answer any questions
Thank
anybody
you.
may have.
Trustees?
Unless I misunderstood you, you're going to put the Zumba people in pool 3, right? I thought you said pool 1, but you're talking pool 3. Okay. I'm fine with it. I think that you're right. If they want to go to the pool, they can go to pool 1.
Randy?
I have no problem with doing that at all.
John, we make a motion on that?
I will say that when we do this, we will definitely hear from the 5 or 6 or 7 that like to have their time at pool 3 and don't want to go to pool 1. So I want to make that known that, I understand their plight. However, we are in strange times.
Mr. Mino?
I agree. I think you're trying to solve the problem for all of the people, and I think this is an administrative decision, and they do the planning, and I have no problem with how they run the pools.
I have no problem because we let staff run that and everything. So, and it's like John says that pool 1 is not full to capacity. There is enough room there and everything. And I believe pool 3 is the pool 2. Pool 2. No, pool 3 is. Sometimes I go there, I see there's not as many people as should be. Sometimes there is, I guess, but whenever I'm there, I don't see it. So, it's fine with me. I like to have a consensus. I haven't. For them to
What
start.
are we having a consensus on? The Zumba part?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I want to make sure I was on the right page.
Okay, so you're okay with Zuma doing
Yeah,
that first?
yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Randy?
Yeah, I'm okay with however John and the
Mr.
staff
Mino?
manage it.
What are you asking again? I missed it.
The Zuma wants to start doing the exercises at pool 3.
Yeah, that's
as
fine.
of-
That's
okay.
as far as I'm
Okay.
concerned, that's his bailiwick. and-
Yeah, but I just have to get a consensus.
sure, absolutely.
So Mr. Coffey's just asking what the board thinks too. So, thank you. That'll go along with it too. Okay, thank you. That's it for that. The next on the agenda is
Wait.
well.
Wait, I'm sorry. I thought that's why I asked about the Zumba part. We're still in phase 2, correct?
I'm sorry.
And
Yeah, we're still in phase 2.
And I'm not really for moving out of phase 2, but I've had several people ask about the length of the tee times at the golf course. They would like to shorten the tee times. And I know that it's not until the 4th phase that they go back to the regular things. People who've gone to other courses, and Mike probably knows this, that they're not 16 minutes or 15 minutes. They're all back to what they used to be. I still think they should have, individual carts, but I'm just wondering if it's time to move it back, maybe not to what it was, but to like maybe 10 minutes or something.
John?
I had this discussion with Golf Operations Manager Cruz about 6 weeks ago. And right now, the issue with the tee times, as I understand, is most people want to play in the morning hours in the summer because of the heat and the rain. Our biggest concern is come the winter time when the daytime is shorter, if we are still at the expanded. If you go from 16 to 10, you have a gap. 16 allows you and if you're not a golfer at home, I apologize for this sounding confusing, but if someone only wants to play 9 holes, you can put the person in between if there's a little gap. We can shrink that down. We don't really have a problem right now getting people on the golf course. We have a problem getting people on the golf course when they want to be on the golf course. But this problem will only be exacerbated this winter. And if the board wants to go back to the old way, it can. The problem is if you go back to 8-minute tee times and every person using a cart, we don't have enough carts for that. And so that's part of that problem.
Okay.
What are we on now? We're on 16 minutes?
16. They basically eliminated every other tee time.
And just so you all should know this, I have not touched a golf club since the first week of June.
They'll all be glad to hear that, Mike.
I didn't even take them with me, so, So we're 16 minutes, we've been on 16 minutes the whole time since this started. And we don't, do we have a lot, again, I haven't been here since the beginning, the end of June. Do we have a lot of people playing golf, do we know, or is it slowed down quite a bit?
Typically in the summertime, you have, folks who want to get out in the mornings, and that's where the 16-minute is an issue. In the afternoon, you usually can shoot a cannon down a few fairways before you find a
Right,
golfer.
Is it 16 minutes? I'm not for or against this either way. I'm just asking the questions. Is 16 minutes a specific time that
It
we
was-
come up with? I mean,
it
what
was-
if they went down to 12 minutes?
It was skipping every other tee time, basically. Yeah.
I mean, I can understand. I did go out yesterday just to look at the course in the afternoon, and there was nobody there. You could kind of go out, but I can understand why people would try to get out in the morning. It is so hot.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something maybe we should still think about. I'm not saying to do it now, but it's something we should think about in this really extreme weather. And then if it had to be changed, it could be changed again later if things were getting wrong. If all of a sudden it was like, this is not what we should be doing as people come back and you get to winter, you could go back. Because this thing we all know is not over.
No.
And you could go back to the 16 or whatever. I'm not saying go to 8, but it might be worth thinking about to shorten it a little bit so people can
Yeah.
get more tee times in.
Part of the concept of going to 16 was, that traditionally you had 8-minute tee times and 2 people per golf cart.
Right.
When you go to 1 person per golf cart, you're either going to get 33 more golf carts,
Yeah.
or you potentially
And
have...
I'm not saying going to 8 minutes. I absolutely don't agree with that. But
We could shorten it up. We have a potential, somebody shows up to want to use a golf cart and there's not one available for them. That's the potential problem if you have 1 person per cart and you have closer tee times.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I worked over there, and sometimes in the winter, there isn't enough golf carts. That somebody comes at noon, say, and they have to wait till somebody comes in to get a golf cart. So that's not an unusual thing, actually. I mean, it wasn't like every day, but it wasn't, 1 out of 80 days or something. I mean, it does happen.
Considering we have another meeting in 10 days, I can re-engage Mr. Cruz about
I'm not
this if
saying
you'd
change
like.
anything right now. I'm just asking questions.
Okay.
Well, that's what I was doing, asking if it, how it's going. So, okay.
So you'll have a conversation with him? Okay. So as far as it goes, we're going to leave the rest of it just the way it is
Yeah,
for
that's
the
fine.
till the next board meeting. So, okay, thank you. Next thing now is a resolution calling for a referendum election / charter spending authority. Mr. Reppinger, would you be so kind as to take over?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you may recall, that when we last saw this issue, we have a resolution that the Board of Trustees had approved sending to the Board of County Commissioners for their consideration, and that resolution to call for a referendum election to raise the spending cap from $25,000 to $50,000 was on the Board of County Commissioners' agenda for August 4th, 2020, and I attended that meeting. And before I go into the status of that resolution and our recommended action moving forward, I do need to address an issue that has arisen with regard to that appearance. And if you'll indulge me for a moment, although I have represented the district since 2007, some of you, especially the newer trustees, you may not fully be aware of my background. And so I just want to start by giving a little perspective and give a little perspective into the incidents that have happened after that meeting. I worked for the county attorney's office years ago from 1999 to 2005, and during that time I worked very closely with Eden Bentley, who was a deputy county attorney, and she's now the county attorney. We have had and have a very good professional relationship. And I routinely speak to Ms. Bentley on local government matters, not just the matters that apply to Barefoot Bay, but other issues that I handle as well. She is Ms. Bentley is one of the people that I respect more than anyone in this profession, not only in this county, but I think she's one of the best lawyers I've ever worked with. So that gives you some level of insight into my feelings about Eden Bentley. I also consider her a personal friend. I wouldn't say that we are the best of friends, but it's the kind of person that after you worked with for that long, when you have a follow-up conversation with, you ask about their children. Not because you're necessarily deep friends with them, but because you were coworkers and you know them and you care about them. And so that's the kind of relationship that we're talking about here. So when this issue arose, it was as disappointing and upsetting to me as it was to her, and bothersome. And so, but I want to give you that perspective because, as you know, I attended that meeting, and at that meeting, the BBRD's spending cap was, the resolution was tabled, and it was tabled to a point in time that was after the ballot deadline. And the ballot deadline is this coming Monday of August 17th. At that meeting, or after that meeting, that night, after I attended another meeting, after the Board of County Commissioner meeting, I provided an email assessment to the Board of Trustees of the facts leading up to that tabling. And in that email, I put that I attributed the tabling to Commissioner Tobias's unwillingness to vote on the item prior to the primary, which is on August 18th, the day after the deadline. Now, Ms. Bentley and I did discuss the ballot language deadline, and we did discuss possibly moving the commission meeting from the 4th to a date at which the initiative would be considered, but I had advised Ms. Bentley that because of that deadline date that we needed to be on the August 4th County Commission meeting agenda, and the item was left there. Now, for whatever reason, whatever it was said during that telephone call, I interpreted that discussion to mean that the reason why the ballot deadline date was discussed was because there was a problem with Commissioner Tobias not wanting to vote on it before the primary date, and that was incorrect. We were not of the same understanding about the information that we discussed during that telephone call, and I'm as confused and bothered and as to why I was incorrect as she was, but the fact remains that assumption of that rationale for why that item was tabled was incorrect. And so the information that I gave to the trustees in my email advising that that was a reason that I had been given for that tabling was incorrect. Ms. Bentley felt the need to issue a letter explaining that, and I acknowledge that inaccuracy. And since that letter, I have spoken to Ms. Bentley, and I've apologized to her. And I've made it clear to her that providing inaccurate information on my part was completely unintentional. And I believe that she understands that. And I'm confident that this issue will be a minor blip in an otherwise productive and positive 20-year relationship. I believe that. I believe that my relationship with the county and with Eden Bentley will not be defined by one inaccurate email that I sent based on a misunderstanding. And I think that she understands that, and so we're ready to move forward, I think, productively and positively, and she has indicated that to me in our conversations. But my email also had another problem. Because of my unintentional misunderstanding, I editorialized the effect that the table would disenfranchise the voters of the district, and obviously that was not the case. Now, it's not, as a lawyer, it's not really my place to speculate on the effect that a table has. So for that, I've also apologized to Commissioner John Tobias. I had a telephone conference with him yesterday, and I believe that he also understands that it was unintentional, and that I want to continue to have a positive and productive relationship with the District 3 office, which I have had the entire time that I have been representing this district for the last 13 years. And so I believe that he knows that my assertions were sincere and that it was unintentional, and that that I understand that his rationale for tabling was not based on that primary date and that he was not disenfranchising the voters. One of the reasons that I know that Commissioner Tabaya was not disenfranchising the voters of Barefoot Bay is because during our telephone conference yesterday, he also advised me that in May of this year, the county passed a resolution calling for a referendum election to propose revoking the district's ability to collect the assessment of on the county tax roll. And that will be on the ballot on November 3rd, 2020. Now, a little bit of history on that issue. This started back in April of 2019. The issue was initially raised by Commissioner Tabaya on a county commission agenda to discuss the uniform method of collection. At that time, we were advised, my office was advised by the county, that the item would be considered, and I did appear on the district's behalf at the county commission meeting to address the assessment collection method in April of 2019. And I advised the county commission at the time that that the district did not favor the county moving forward with removing its assessment collection authority. The board indicated that the county commission indicated that it had no problem with Commissioner Tabaya proceeding to evaluate the issue. And he indicated at that time during the April meeting that there would be some type of a town hall meeting that would be held to discuss that issue and get more input from the community. Thereafter, BBRD staff, John Coffey, myself, and Finance Director Charles Henley, went and we met with Commissioner Tabaya in his office and discussed the assessment rate and the collection method. Commissioner Tabaya indicated that the assessment rate, if the assessment rate was not reduced below the CPI percentage that he was using to evaluate it, that he would consider taking action on the district's collection method moving forward. That was in our meeting. We informed the Board of Trustees after that meeting in 2019 and during the budget and assessment process in 2019, if those of you who were on the board then should remember this, that if the assessment rate was above that CPI percentage, that Commissioner Tabaya could potentially take action against the assessment. Now, my office, and all I can tell you factually from my perspective is my office was never advised of any town hall meeting, and I'm not aware of whether one was held. There may very well have been. I did not receive any notice of that. I do not believe that the district staff received notice of that. I have not fully confirmed that, but I do not believe so. So whether there was one held in the public, whether any of the trustees had notice of any kind of town hall meeting before this item came back, I do not know. So I cannot say. There may have been. The item appeared on the May 2020 County Commission agenda without a specific notice to the district officials. Now, again, we were noticed in April of 2019. We were noticed of that discussion. We were not given specific notice of the May 2020 consideration, and it passed unanimously. And if you go back and watch the County Commission meeting of that passage, there was very little discussion. And it was at one of their meetings that they were in a COVID protocol upstairs, and they did take public comment. But there was none. And there was no substantive issue discussed at that time when that was passed. The only way that the district officials and myself would have had notice that that was happening would have been if we were watching every county commission agenda come out to know that it was on there. I'm sure it was noticed just like any other public item on the agenda. I do not know whether there was a specific notice that was drafted for that item. I don't think there has to be one, so that's why I don't think there was, but I'm not aware of one. So that at least gives you some degree of background as to why the district wasn't aware of that. Commissioner Tabaya advised me of the resolution yesterday, which I was grateful for, and we've taken a look at that ballot initiative. I have, over the last 24 hours, I guess I'd say, a little less than 24 hours. Commissioner Tabaya, well, if it's passed, the initiative would remove the district's authority to collect the assessment on the tax roll. Now, if you'll continue to indulge me a little bit, Chairman Klosky, I'll give you a little bit of history about the district's method of collection. The district's method of collection was passed in 2009. Prior to that, the district's assessment rate was collected in-house as a monthly assessment. Now, I imagine that as we move forward, staff is going to be providing you some numbers to kind of show you or illustrate collection rates, doing it in-house versus on the tax collector roll. So I'm not really going to get into that aspect of it. And I'm really not going to editorialize a whole much. I think I've done enough of that as far as the wisdom of this initiative. What I can tell you factually is that prior to 2009, your assessment rate, your assessment collection rate of your revenue was far below what you're collecting now on the county tax roll. In addition to that, for a number of different reasons. 2009 was a totally different time. The board needs to understand that. I think anybody who's been around long enough knows that. Certainly Mr. Klosky understands this. 2009 was long ago, and the district staff was not nearly as professional and organized and on top of things as they are today. And so that in-house collection created a lot of uncertainty about the revenue stream and how much was there and where it was. It created audit problems. There were a lot of issues related to in-house collection that existed prior to 2009 that resulted in the district not receiving the amount of revenue that it should receive under its assessment.
I believe that back in before we turned it over to the county, we had maybe a collection rate of sometime between 65 to only to 75%.
It may have been in the 60 to 75% range. I'm sure staff will advise us of what those numbers are in more detail. But suffice it to say, it was substantially lower than what you see under the current collection method. Now, a couple of facts related to that. When the district adopted or moved on to the tax roll in 2009, it went through an entire public hearing process. The board went through the same process that is required of every other agency that collects via the statutory section that allows for that uniform method of collection. Taking public hearings, taking public comment. It was a long process that we went through preparing the first tax roll and actually putting that onto the tax roll. So that was a very involved process. It went under much debate at the time in the community before it was passed, and the wisdom of this board at that time saw fit to move forward with that initiative. And again, staff is going to advise you of how the district's financial picture changed between 2009 and today, and what we were doing prior to that and after. So I'll leave it at that. But it goes without saying, and you really don't have to speculate that much, that this is, if this initiative were to pass, it would have a substantial impact on the revenue yield for the district and the costs associated with engaging in that collection. So that's it is what it is. It's a very impactful measure. Now, also, the draft ordinance that's attached to the referendum removes the district's lien rights in addition to removing the tax roll, which I don't know whether that was intentional or just an oversight. That shouldn't really matter whether the district has lien rights or not from a tax roll perspective. So, as I understand it, and it's just my understanding, which we know can be off, I think Commissioner Tobias' issue is with the fact that the assessment rate is higher than he wants it to be, and it's on the tax roll. So I don't know whether the lien right really has anything to do with that. So I mention that because there may be some ability to work with the county after, if it passes, to at least give the district its lien rights if it's removed, if the tax aspect of collection is removed. Also, and that lien right is specifically provided for in the monthly collection. There's two different methods of collection for the assessment in Chapter 418 of the Florida statutes. One is a monthly assessment in-house. The other is the annual tax roll assessment. So those are the two processes under 418 that the district can utilize. Oddly enough, the district's charter doesn't necessarily address the monthly collection process. So when the district was collecting its assessment prior to 2009, it was doing so based on the interpretation of 418, not its own charter. So it was looking at the district was utilizing 418 as that basis for that collection. So I tell you this only because there is an argument to be made that the district would still have lien rights if we're relying on 418, if that section is still applicable to the district once it passes. Again, we've just started looking at this, so this is just some initial thoughts I'm giving you. And addressing 418, I think there is a substantial preemption issue that the proposed county ordinance doesn't necessarily address. So that's something legally that will have to be analyzed in detail as this measure moves along and if it passes. Depending on the outcome of that election and the will of this board after that election occurs, if it should definitely result in a passage, then I would think that this board is definitely going to have to look at that preemption issue, and I suspect that there's going to be a preemption challenge going one way or the other if that passes eventually. So, because what we have done in the past, what this district has done in the past is if we are asking for a charter change that is different than what Chapter 418 says, then we ask the legislature to pass a special act to give us that authority to deviate from 418. Well, that was not done in this case. So 418 grants the authority to utilize the tax collection process, but the county doesn't address that from a special act perspective. So there is a preemption issue there, and there's more to that preemption issue than just that simple issue, but there is an issue there. That could potentially be cured, but again, I'm getting off topic and going way too deep into analysis. Based on the impact, the potential impact, and this is leading back into the issue to come back full circle, based on the potential impact of that measure on the ballot, at this time, staff is recommending that this board withdraw item 8B and item 9C on today's agenda, which is the referendum for the charter cap increase and the referendum for the 791 Falcon proposed sale, and advise the county that it wishes to withdraw the proposed resolution calling for the referendum on the spending authority, which was tabled to September 3rd. And that's what we're asking that the board do today.
Go ahead, Boyd.
Yeah, Joe, I'll make a motion on 8B that we withdraw that from today's agenda.
Okay. Randy made a
Is
motion.
it, I would second it, but is it only 8B or also 8C? Or do we
Well,
do
it
them
will be
individually?
8C. I was going to make two motions.
Pardon?
I was going to make two motions, Mike.
You did make a motion?
I made a motion on 8B, and then I'll
8B,
make
okay.
a motion on 9C.
Okay, I would second the motion on 8B.
There was a second by Mr. Minor. Any discussion on this motion?
We do, I guess, very delicate subject, and I have to be very careful. You know, I've dealt in this kind of stuff for many, 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 many years. I don't know Mr. Tobias. I understand he was in the state legislature, if that's correct, or something like that, and now he's back down to small local politics, more or less. If you read all of the agenda, all of the minutes, and you read all of the documentation we have about how this happened, and I'm simply led to believe that it was done in a somewhat secretive manner that we were not totally aware of. As he mentions the CPI so many times, and possibly his agenda is not favorable to taxing. And I read the letter that he sent to the Board of Trustees, and see things like he said, his discussion would have been of what we plan to purchase if we would have passed this referendum. It seems to me that some of that is really not his concern, because he doesn't run this district. The Board of Trustees does. And he's trying to impose some things and take away from the people of the Bay their right to do it, to give them the choice to see what they think they should be doing. So, not knowing a whole lot about all of this, I think it's very unfortunate that the people of the Bay are now going to have to go out and become educated as to what this referendum that he now has placed on there is going to do to them if, in fact, it passes. I could just see fivefold what Cliff just mentioned about the kinds of things that would happen to this bay in trying to collect those assessments, et cetera, if that referendum passes. The county, in every state of this country, the counties have such a difficult time now collecting taxes. There are so many delinquent tax accounts. School districts are forever not getting their taxes because the county can't collect it. And if someone thinks that we could go back to collecting an assessment monthly and have it not affect the way this place is run, they are just not living in they're just not living in this world. So I agree we rescind this and try to get the major problem solved, but I just think this is very, very unfortunate, and it's unfortunate for the people of the Bay.
I do agree.
There is something
with you, Mr.
additional I'd
Mayor.
like to add to this record. I agree with Mike 100%. I had a 45-minute conversation with Mr. Tobias on the 11th. And I won't quote that conversation because clearly that's the place where you can easily get misquoted or misunderstood, and I don't want that to happen for him or me. However, I will state this. The resolution for our cap increase was the exact reason for my call to Mr. Tobias was to get his take on why he would table that, because it was such a benign thing and had no effect on the increase of our assessment. During that conversation, which was on several things, during that conversation, Mr. Tobias did not once mention this resolution 2020 that has been approved by the commissioner that I, as one trustee, I don't know about my colleagues, but as a trustee, I was never made aware that this resolution was out there. I was never made aware that it was going to a meeting, and I was never aware that the district commissioners had voted it in. He did ask me if I was aware of any other resolutions out there, and I said none other than the one that we were looking to put out there. And at that point, that part of the conversation didn't go any further. In getting this resolution this morning, I took a look at some just rough figures, and these are just speculations on my part. Right now, our current revenue from assessments is about $3.6 million. And if we're looking at a 20% loss, and that's just say that it goes down to 80% collection rate, we're looking at a $1 million loss in revenue per year. And if we're looking at a 30% loss, we're looking at about a 1.1% revenue loss per year, which will take us down to $2 million from our $3.6 million. That will have devastating effect on this community. I also agree with Mike, if we don't get out and educate on what this resolution, because this resolution reads very simply, are you in favor of a resolution, yes or no? It doesn't give any details, and like all resolutions that hit a ballot, there's not enough room to tell you exactly what that ramification is going to be. And in this resolution, it simply states, I'm sorry, be patient with me. It simply states, shall the charter be amended to revoke the authority of Barefoot Bay Recreation District to collect its assessments in the manner provided for ad valorem taxes? Yes for approval, no for rejection. That will tell our homeowners nothing. Many may not even know what ad valorem is. I'm sure most do. However, it says nothing. It says nothing about the fact that if this goes away and we lose the teeth, because that lien piece of our charter is in here and has been struck through, if we lose that lien piece, we've lost the teeth to our ability of assessment. Meaning if somebody wants to sit home and say, I'm not going to pay that assessment, I don't use the pools, they can do that. They will absolutely be able to do that. And they'll be able to go on and on and on, sell their house with no penalty. There would be no penalty for anybody who just decides to break that rule of making an assessment for common living in our community. That will quickly diminish property values in here. Maybe not the first year, but we will see it happen. And it ties our hands. So for that reason, I continue to make that motion that we strike that piece from the agenda for the of raising the cap, and then I'll make another motion after. And Mike, you did second that, right?
I thank you. And I just hope the people listening to this understand how truly important this really is. Randy's absolutely right that there are so many people, there are people here now in the Bay who say, I don't want to pay that assessment. I don't use the pool. There are people who are going to do that. There are people who don't want to pay any taxes. They do not want to do anything. They don't want to pay assessments. But that's not the way the world works. You people, I can't emphasize enough that you start losing the revenue, and look at all the things we try to do here. All these 5-year, 20-year plans we're putting together. We're talking about all the things we're improving. We got 50-year-old buildings, and most of the people here know that this board tries to do what's best for them. It's in their best interest. But if that referendum passes and we start losing that revenue, you people have been talking about a dog park the whole time I was gone in Montana. This whole place will look like a dog park because you're going to be cutting out over $1 million to $2 million in revenue. And this budget and this place will change drastically. There's no question. So I'm done on it, but I just can't believe this happened.
Plus, down the road, if how it happens, you ain't gonna probably have a golf course here. You won't have a 19th hole. You won't have the lounge. You might have the swimming pools. I don't know, but as far as it goes, whoever maintains it will not be cutting the grass like we do all the time.
Well, you may understand something. You may have a golf course. But you will not be paying what you're paying now to play on that golf course if you want to live here, which is going to drastically affect the value of your homes.
That's true, yes.
This is so overwhelming how it could affect us because you will lose revenue, no question.
So I'm just totally
I'm
against
so
it.
appalled by this. I find it hard to talk. They're right. Everything they said is correct. And but what I wonder, which I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to say anyway, I keep wondering what his point with this is. Why is he doing this? Why would he not tell? First of all, why wouldn't he tell us that he's having a referendum to do this? This is all big secret. It's all like let's screw Barefoot Bay or something. I just don't. The ramifications of this are horrendous, and how he can just blatantly, make our lives more miserable. I just can't. I can't. I'm appalled by this, and it just. They're right, though. My two colleagues here are absolutely right, and Joe, you're correct. Everybody's correct that it's going to just devastate this place, and whatever we need to do to not do it, that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that people understand a no vote is what we need on this referendum.
As I being on the board from 2007 till 2009, we had tough times with the assessments collection and everything. There was so many behind that they refused to pay and all that stuff. And that's why sometimes we didn't get some of these projects done the way we wanted. But once this county took over and we were getting the money from the county, we started improving, and
Yeah.
then the last 5-6 years we've really improved and went where we're headed now. That's why the Bay is where it is right now.
Yeah, I think going to the county to have it done was one of the probably smartest things that was done. And it just scares me to death to think that he's going to try to take this away.
The other
Is it-
thing that's unfortunate about this, that we're not even talking about, is the fact that this referendum that we wanted to put, or this amendment we wanted to put out as a referendum, everything I'd heard up to now, people understood it. I'm not saying it would have passed, but people understood, yeah, geez, it's time to change that so you can make some adjustments in some of the neighborhood revitalization programs, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think that had a very, very good chance of passing. So what are we doing now? Now we're saying, let's not even put it out there because we've got this other big issue that was dumped in our lap that we've got to deal with. And so we have to get rid of a couple of things just to deal with it. And that's just, again, it's taking the vote away from the people by one person saying, this is what I want them to do. And that's just unfortunate.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion on this motion?
Can we just get a clarification that motion includes also requesting that the county withdraw that item from its September 3rd agenda as well?
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay, so
I second it.
okay,
Randy had
so-
a motion, I second it.
Okay, so now let's go with a vote on it. We're going to have a voice vote. Mr. Mayo?
Yes.
Luann? Joe, yes. Randy?
Yes.
Voted unanimous. Thank you.
If I could just state one thing on the record as well. I've gotten a text message while we're sitting here. It is from Commissioner Tabaya. And Commissioner Tabaya wants it to be clear to this board that if you get within the cap, if you bring the assessment rate within the cap, that he would be glad to ask the commission to pull the referendum. That is his communication. Does indicate that he would verbally state that. So I don't know how the board wants me to proceed on that, but
So he's holding that over. So he's holding that over our heads, right? If we bring down. the
Well,
vote,
I wouldn't couch it that way. I would just say that Mr.
no, but maybe you
Commissioner
will. I
Tabaya,
would.
Commissioner Tabaya has been very clear about the one thing that he has been extremely clear about. That there, make no mistake about, he is unhappy with the rate of the assessment. That it is over what he believes that it should be.
His rate of says what's 2% or something, right?
He's using a CPI index percentage, and I would leave it up to.
I think the last time
Commissioner
around.
Tabaya or
No,
someone
I think we talked about it
to
before.
explain
It's
it.
just over 2%.
However, you just received that text during our meeting, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, I think we have to make sure that we appreciate the fact that he texted in and is listening to a little bit. And
He
that
is watching this meeting. He did advise me that he would be watching this meeting.
Exactly, and I think we should appreciate the fact that he is doing that, and appreciate the fact that he texted in, and also not that we're going to need to make motions about anything else. We passed that motion, by the way, didn't we? Just now, we did. This board is always open to discussions with anyone and negotiations with anyone about problems and situations that come up, and so. We have to make sure he understands. We think this is just a terrible thing that's been proposed that will be on the ballot, and we have to do something to make sure it's not on there, or that it's defeated. One of the two.
So you're saying you're willing to lower the.
No, I'm not
the
saying
rate?
I'm willing to do anything. No, absolutely, I didn't say that. I'm saying I appreciate the fact that he texted in and said he's willing to
No,
talk
I
to the
understand that,
board.
but I thought that was the last thing you said,
That's all.
that in order to get it off the ballot. Yeah, okay.
Any other questions on this? Okay, so that takes care of that. Thank you.
Joe, I'd like to make another motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we remove 9C from the agenda.
Okay,
I would second that also.
okay. And all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you. So 9C is off the agenda. Okay,
Joe, I'd like to make a third motion.
go ahead.
I need to make a motion under all of the controversy that this resolution that has been put forth to hit our November ballot, that we also table the workshop for the dog park or any large project that's coming up until we have resolution on this resolution.
Okay.
So while I had asked for a workshop for the dog park, I would like to pull that request. So I make a motion to pull the request for the dog park workshop that's coming up
So we
on the
made a motion to
27th.
pull it, and second? Okay, any discussion? Luann made a second. Any discussion on that motion?
Randy, I think that's very, very prudent. It's a very good thing to do, and not to say that we are not going to be in favor or against the dog park, but during this problem, this situation, I think all of those things would be in jeopardy.
Yes.
And I think it's a very prudent move on your part.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of that motion with a voice vote? Randy?
Aye.
Luann? Joe, yes? Mr.
Aye.
Mel? Motion passes. Thank you. A new business, shopping center roof replacement, RFP, evaluation committee recommendations. John?
Mr. Chairman, trustees, we received 2 proposals in response to the RFP, one from MGM Contracting, Inc., and one from the Roof Authority. The RFP committee met twice to review them. The recommendation was to recommend to the board to accept the proposal from MGM Contracting as presented. A few notes just for clarification. The 5-year plan had target of $130,000 in use of fund balance for that this year. Due to some timing issues with other projects, there will be sufficient money to do this. And additionally, as I notified the board in the agenda memo, it's my intent to sign a proposal for construction, administrative services, and inspections in the amount of $6,800 due to the complexity of this project. But staff recommends the BOT award contract for the roof replacement to MGM Contracting, Inc. in the amount of $152,000. Last note, Mr. Reppinger will draw up a contract, and this will come back for authorization for you to sign.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the contract from MGM for $152,000 and that we get that construction administration services from to keep an eye on all this stuff.
Luann made a motion. I need a second.
I'd second.
Mr. Mayor made a second. Any other discussion on that motion?
I just have one thing to say. I was the chairman of that committee, and Gary Gresco, I think that's how you say it, Gresco,
Yes.
was on that committee, and he did a wonderful job of. He was assigned the task of looking up everything, calling people to find out, about these companies, and he really went above and beyond the call of
Yes, he
duty,
did.
and I just wanted to give him an attaboy. Thank
Thank you. Okay, hearing no other.
I've got a quote. Good, Luann. I'm glad you were on there. Can you tell me what was the major difference? Outside of price. Can you tell me what you saw in those bids that made the 216 compared to the 152? That's just a wide range of price for the same work. Yeah.
When Gary had all his information, the MGM people, they both had, good references. They both came in with good references and everything. MGM was a little better. Matt Getz had spoken to the people from MGM and was very much in favor of them because of the way they presented themselves. The Roof Authority sent a lot of information, although a lot of it was, I don't want to say useless, but it was stuff that anybody, unless they were building roofs, would know about.
One, the reason I think the other one was much higher because he had in the restaurant the fan he subcontracted
Oh, he
that.
subcontracted
So
out
that's
the
where
fan,
that
which
was where
brought
the
it
price
up,
was
I don't
much
know,
higher. So that's the
$30,000.
reason.
That's what I
Yeah,
was
he
looking for.
contracted out the fan, which was a lot of money. The vent fan, I guess.
But in all, they were both good. But I believe this one was much precise and a better. I think he's going to do everything himself. So there was no reason if didn't have a question on it. If something happened, well, we go after this, and this we got problems. So like that, he's going to do it all himself, and we know that he'll do a good job. So okay, there is a motion, a second, and go ahead, John.
One thing, just for anybody who watch at home may look at the this agenda memo. MGM had a more slimlined proposal, and the roof authority had a very detailed authority. The fact that we have construction drawings for this project makes the proposals less important, because when Mr. Reppinger draws up the legal binding contract, it's to the construction drawings, not to their proposal.
Okay.
The proposal has the price in it.
Right.
And so anybody who would look at the two of them, MGM's is much more streamlined, but MGM realizes they're going to do it by the construction plans.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, no further discussion? Okay, we all have vote on it. Voice vote, Randy,
Yes.
Mr. Mayo,
Yes.
Luann, Joe, yes, passes unanimous 4-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the moratorium on formation of new clubs/organizations. John?
Yes, per the policy manual, residents wishing to form new clubs have to fill out a form that basically shows some residents who are going to be responsible for it, and if they want to use meeting spaces, find their recurring spots before I approve their request to be a recognized club. Due to the fact that Building A is closed for the renovations project and Building C is closed currently for the pandemic reopening, and this building is at 25% capacity, we had a group of residents trying to form a new club recently, and they couldn't find a place consistently to meet on the calendar, and I thought this moratorium would just be a little proactive way of encouraging the folks to understand that until we get the Building A back open and we can get a little more advanced in our reopening guidelines, that don't even think of forming new clubs because we don't have the space to handle the clubs that we have now. So my recommendation is to enact a moratorium on formation of new clubs and organizations until the Building A renovations project is complete, at which time it'll automatically be lifted.
I'd make the motion to accept staff's recommendation on the moratorium on new clubs and organizations.
Somebody made a motion. I need a second.
Yeah.
Luann made a second. Any discussion on that motion?
Again, we're just talking until we get facilities back open and this whole
Yeah.
thing clears up.
Okay, so, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes, thank you. Next, manager's report. John?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Resident Relations, ARC meeting on the 4th of August, 19 consent items approved, 9 others, 7 were approved, 1 denied, 1 tabled. There was the next meeting is the 18th with 29 items on the agenda. It will be in the admin conference room due to elections being in this building next Tuesday. Violation meeting was today, but due to the hecticness of the day, I didn't get the results of it. Next one is 10 a.m. on the 28th of August. Interesting home facts. For July, homes continue to sell. 33 homes transferred hands with 62 new homeowners receiving their badges. Golf course, time of year that we spray for weeds, so yellowing will occur in spots on the golf course. The course will be closed next Tuesday, so folks coming to vote have plenty of space to park. And Mr. Cruz is still hunting quotes and trying to get apples to apples comparison for the irrigation design and engineering project. Property services, we had a good trial run, and we're thankful that the hurricane didn't come by us too closely. That ate up a lot of time. We placed a back door on the water and sewer department office, making a lot of good progress on the miniature golf. Pavers, if they're not finished today, they'll probably be finished on Monday. The borders, that is. The fence vendor is planning on being here on Monday, weather permitting. And once we get the fence in, the obstacles and structures will go in. We're doing the final painting. Repaired broken water line at the beach, ordered new signs again along A1A. If you're the person out there who likes to break our signs, please stop. Inspected lighting outage at Pool 1. Mr. Getz and I took a leisurely survey of that property along Falcon Drive to try to fact check it. And Building A renovations project started Monday this week and continues to solicit bids for various projects. As I mentioned, Building A started on Monday. The sound system update project that Little Theater donated $5,000 is scheduled to be executed late next week. And if you ever want to be frustrated, we've bought trucks from Duval Ford for years, and this year we get told we need a VIN number. And getting a VIN number is not as easy as it sounds, but Stephanie Brown helped Mr. Getz finally track down the obstacles of getting a VIN number, and we got our trucks ordered. Ironically, the government version F-150s, which doesn't have all the gizmos that average residents buy, was already out of stock, and so I had to sign a change order for $1,879 for the 2021 model that had enhanced safety and data management systems. A copy of that change order is attached. The electrical upgrade project, the design personnel will be on site in the next few weeks, mapping out existing infrastructure and doing the lighting test at night. Construction plans are scheduled to be to us in November. The NRP subcommittee is meeting next Wednesday, August 19th at 10 o'clock in the administration conference room. And the dog park is no more. So I was going to say that. I do have one thing that we will be sending out a notice to the homeowners through the bulk email. We finally got a confirmation of the construction project that is going to make all our lives interesting. The map doesn't show it very well with the lighting on, but basically the four corners where the four stop signs are and those iron plates will be closed starting Monday at 7 a.m. for a month to 2 months. If you came that way to this meeting, you saw them digging in the median. They will be rerouting detours down the Miko Road and around the East Drive to avoid that area. I'm sure Trustee Mino and Loveland will enjoy coming to see me because you'll need to pack a lunch to get to the admin building instead of just being around the corner. But once this is done, all the iron plates will be gone and stuff. And that concludes my report.
I have a question. The Building A audio upgrades, with digital mixing, blah, blah, blah. Is that going to fix the acoustical problems in Building A? I mean, is that I mean, I read all that stuff and went, this is all very nice, but no, but it doesn't say, yes, this is going to be,
It will help the acoustical problems. You will always have acoustical problems when you have a concrete floor, flat floor, and a ceiling that is peaked like that. That room was never meant to be.
what was that room meant to be? That's the question. I mean,
was-
you probably don't know, I don't know either, but I'm just saying, if it wasn't meant to have people in there and, meetings and stuff, what could it possibly have been used for?
Well,
I mean, I know you don't know, and that was only just
When they
rhetorical.
put that
Actually-
building up,
actually, I do
people
know
used to-
that,
They used to
Lou
just
Ann.
yell to each other when they put that building
That-
up. You
it's-
didn't
it's
worry
hard.
about acoustics.
The acoustic, so it's going to be better. Is that a lot better, or you don't know? You don't know. It's just, it's annoying, to tell you the truth.
the part of if you look at what was sent to you, the vendor believes a big part of the sound issue is the speakers have too much, and I'm going to say a gizmo because I don't want to use the wrong word, but is not meant for the spoken word. It's more of an entertainment speaker, and the speakers they're putting up will not have so much of a problem amplifying the amplified voice. But in the 70s, I'm not sure they anticipated that room being amplified. You go to any performing arts, mosque, synagogue, parish, you don't see a flat floor with concrete on it and ceilings like that. Everything is slanted down like a movie theater. So there's a limit to how much we can do to make that better.
But this proposal is endorsed by the
Yes.
little theater group, right? This is
Yeah,
what they
yeah.
think they want.
They believe this will help.
I mean, I had a note here saying I'm glad it's finally going ahead with, but as long as this is what
Yeah.
they think will help.
Yeah, because I was here, Mr. Klosky's been here for a long, long time. Before we put up those sound dampening panels, the echo in that building was much, much worse. Now, the issue is a lot of people have moved in here and they don't remember what those buildings sounded like before the sound panels. And our biggest issue that we may address next year, we have money in the budget for sound dampening panels, but once we get this in, we'll make an assessment of what the next best need is our microphones are microphones that you're supposed to hold at a 90-degree angle to your face, and everybody thinks they're on NBC Sports, and they hold it straight up as if they want to show the Barefoot Bay logo off, and it doesn't pick up the voice well. And I think I could work here for 70 more years and never be able to get the message across to folks. You hold the microphone straight out like you're a rock star back in the 70s, not like you're calling Monday Night Football. That's a major part of the problem, and no amount of technology except different microphones can help that.
Thank you, John. Anyone else for?
Well, I just think that explanation was a lot of dancing, if you want to know the truth, but that's okay. I'll buy that for now.
Okay, thank you.
I'll hold judgment until this whole thing gets done, and then I'll complain more.
Okay, Mr. Reppinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I've spoken quite a bit today. One thing I did want to touch on, the DOR filings. Obviously, we have, based on what we've been handling, some of the things we've been handling, some of the urgent matters, we've had to push some of those filing deadlines, so I know that doesn't make anybody happy, but we are working on those deliverables. A lot of the complaints are drafted. I just have to go through them and review them before they're filed. So what we have on a status list, I have not given you today because it's going to look a lot different by the time we get to our meeting on, I believe, the 25th. But every single filing has been pushed to between now and August 31st. So between now and then, those cases are going to be filed. And so hopefully when I get to you on the 25th, you'll have a case update that'll look radically different than it does today. But other than that, I have no additional update.
Thank you, Mr. Reppinger. Incidental remarks, Randy.
Yeah, I would just like to go back to our little issue of this resolution 20. Do we have a second number? Is it 2020?
The resolution that the county passed?
Yeah, for
I
the
do not
ballot.
know. I pulled that out of the agenda package, so I haven't seen the signed copy. I don't know what the number is.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. It's the ballot
Yeah.
initiative.
And And in speaking to that, I really would like to make sure that the homeowners understand the impact of this. So I think it's important for every board member and everybody that's listening to this meeting to try to get the word out there on what the impact this will have to the Bay and lost revenue from uncollectibles, as well as strikingly changing our charter and the lien aspect. Also, I don't have a problem with meeting a CPI. I've never had a problem with us following a guideline of a CPI. But what I think has not been taken into consideration is the fact that we have not had a raise in assessment for so many years, that our raises were minuscule to get us up to a standard that at least brings us into 2021 so that we can follow a CPI. So I think that to make those kind of commitments and have those kind of commitments thrust upon us by somebody who's not bothered, and maybe he has, I hope that he has, and if he hasn't, I hope that he starts to get involved in finding out why we had such raises. Because the main reason is we don't have a $10,000 per household assessment once a year where you have to pay that to bring us up like you would in a condo association or an HOA. We don't have that. We don't have that luxury. We don't have that money, quite honestly, individually. So these little raises that we've had in our assessment have really brought us up to standards where we need to be. Following a CPI is not a problem. Getting us up to a level of assessment that is worthy of today's budget has been the struggle. And I believe that we've done that, and we've done that through increments of small amounts. So, again, following the CPI is not a deal breaker to get something moved off of a ballot that will literally break this community. And but going back and reversing, saying what we've already approved is almost an impossibility, in my opinion. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Randy. Luann?
Well, to I guess reiterate what Randy said, people need to understand that a yes vote on this referendum is going to crush us, and life as we know it is over. And maybe not today, and maybe not next week, but very shortly after that, it's going to be gone. People need to understand that, and hopefully we'll get the word out. But the only other thing I have to say is, well, there's a lot I could say, but I think I won't. I could be that political. That be sure to vote, and be sure when you vote no on this referendum. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Luann. Mr. Mayo?
Yeah, I won't beat a dead horse right now. I just want to say, though, I went away with 1 month, and look at all the problems you got in 1 month. I mean, what the hell, you know? I mean, and by the way, you have to understand, I was in Montana in the mountains. It was cold sometime in the morning. I had to fish in the morning sometime and fish in the evening sometime. So it wasn't just all play. I mean, it was hard work. Just, you have to understand that, okay? No, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree with Randy, and I didn't think that with the CPA that we were over that and everything, because we didn't have a couple of years that we never raised the assessment fees, and then we did raise some up and everything, but I thought we were close with the way the CPI was going, but I guess not. But I too will say the residents need to vote no on this, because if they vote yes, eventually down the road here, it's not going to be a rosy picture, and you're going to lose a lot of amenities here, a lot of stuff and everything, and like I said, Mr. Myers said, your homes will not be worth much of anything, because the cost will be way down. So think before you vote, and this is a beautiful place, and everything has been improved way, and we're doing a great job. The only thing I'd like to say is, I'd like to say thank you to Matt and his staff on all the work they have done in the past 5 months. Over 200 some projects have been completed, big and small, and that would not have been done under the normal circumstances. So I say, but being because they were closed down, that's why we got a lot of work done. Also, I'd like to thank the rest of the staff for working hard to keep our residents and each other safe during the uncertain times. Also, I want to thank you to Mr. Coffey for the great work he's been doing and he had in the past. The next board meeting will be August 25th at Building D&E at 7 p.m. So I'd like to just say thank you and God bless every one of our residents. I am looking for a motion to adjourn. Luana made a motion.
So moved.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Have a good weekend.